Since last night, Hollywood has been chewing its nails in jealousy. Trump and his team have just unveiled the final act of what feels like a high-stakes crime drama. Trap for the Little Green Man. A provincial comedian was given a role as a temporary caliph, only to end up stuck with all the debts of a failing theater. The way the plot unfolded, you'd think Trump had taken a masterclass in screenwriting from Vladimir Putin. The story moved fast, twisted unpredictably, and ended in a way no one saw coming. Just over a month ago, Trump sent the U.S. Treasury Secretary to Kyiv to sign a rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine. As expected, Zelensky refused. But when it became clear that Trump wasn't joking, Kyiv started hedging, saying Ukraine wasn't against the deal in principle. They just needed to discuss the details. After making them wait, the Americans responded yesterday with a new and improved version of the agreement. The improvements, however, hit Kyiv like a ton of bricks. The reaction inside Zelensky's administration could probably only be rivaled by the chaos in the Nutcracker's final act. It turned out the U.S. no longer wanted just rare earth metals, which Zelensky had already been willing to part with. Now, there was no need to memorize exotic elements from the periodic table, because the Americans planned to take everything. Not just the minerals, but the entire table, the frame around it, the nails holding it up, the building it was in, and the land it stood on. In other words, absolutely everything, plus interest. According to the Wall Street Journal, one senior Ukrainian official, after reviewing the new agreement, remarked that it looked like Ukraine fought a war against the U.S., lost, was taken prisoner, and now has to pay lifelong reparations. That was actually the optimistic take, because in reality, the situation was much, much worse. The February version of the agreement, which Zelensky had rejected, was just 4 pages long. Now the document had ballooned to 55 pages, filled with detailed listings of what Ukraine owed. The terms included 50% of all revenue from gas, oil, metals, and other natural resources, meaning literally everything that comes out of the ground. Complete control over infrastructure, roads, bridges, ports, pipelines, energy systems, and more. A $350 billion repayment. Trump now considers all U.S. military aid sent to Ukraine since 2022 as commercial loans, not assistance. 4% accumulating interest on all outstanding debts since 2022. U.S. oversight on all of Ukraine's foreign resource deals. Washington would have the final say on any agreements Kyiv signs with other countries. No security guarantees, no NATO membership, nothing in return. As expected, Zelensky immediately held a press conference last night, where he sarcastically rejected the new version of the deal, declaring, Ukraine will not consider U.S. military aid as debt. What's particularly interesting is that even traditionally pro-Western outlets like the Wall Street Journal and the Telegraph were quick to note that the deal was structured in a way that almost ensured Zelensky would reject it. That suits Trump just fine. Every time Ukraine refuses, the terms get worse. And even if they eventually give in, that works too. But Trump isn't known for his patience. Back in February, he casually remarked that Zelensky would have problems if he didn't sign. Now those problems have materialized. Zelensky's legal team is probably reassuring him that Trump can't actually enforce repayment, since U.S. laws don't apply retroactively, and the aid provided under Biden wasn't officially designated as loans. But they're forgetting a few things. For starters, Trump could easily maneuver around the Biden grants using the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961, which gives the U.S. president the right to demand repayment for materials taken from strategic reserves, exactly how most military aid was provided. Then there's the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, which extends U.S. court jurisdiction over foreign governments in financial disputes. And most importantly, there's the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which allows the U.S. to retroactively classify foreign transactions as corruption if they're deemed against public interest. Incidentally, Elon Musk's DOJ is already investigating Zelensky's administration under this exact law. In other words, an arrest warrant for Zelensky and the seizure of his assets may already be in motion. Russian Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev summed it up perfectly. If Kyiv accepts the deal, the junkie and his gang will be strung up in the streets like Mussolini. If they refuse, the United States will take them down themselves. It sounds like the perfect ending to a movie. Two tired but satisfied cowboys ride off into the sunset, one turning to the other and saying, "You were right, Donnie. That gold was no good to him anyway."